Hello and a very warm welcome to sunny Kent for round 2 of the 2013 Club 100 Sprint Championships. We're back at Bayford Meadows for the first of 2 visits this season to a circuit that has a little bit of everything. Last year reigning Premier Champion Chris Powell won all 4 finals here, but it'll be a tough ask to repeat the trick as the level of competition in Premier class has probably never been higher. But before we get to the first of the finals, it's been a long call 6 weeks since round 1, and perhaps it's worth reminding ourselves what happened just up the road at Buckmore Park. After winning his very first Premier race in the heats, lightweight champion Peter Cole started final 1 outside of 09 champion Jamie Jenkins on pole position, and ahead of the pure racing duo of Johnny Goddard and John Maycock, who'd won the Saturday Enduro. Jenkins converting the whole shot, Cole losing out to Goddard. But after getting late on the brakes into hairpin 1, Cole would run round the outside of the corner to secure third from Trott. Goddard failing in an early grab for the lead into hairpin 2. Cole then wasted no time hanging Goddard out to dry at Garda, so that both he and Trott could set off after the leader. Lap 3, and Cole strikes again at Garda, this time for the lead. And after a long drag back uphill to turn 1, this mistake from Jamie gifted Trott second place and allowed Cole and Trott to pull clear. Goddard lunged Jenkins again, and they were joined this time by Parmveen Ajar and Kieran McCullough, which allowed Jenkins some respite in third, but only for a while. Now joined by light clubman champion Andrew Johnson and Chris Hansen, the latter had qualified poorly in 19th place, but had made stellar progress to reach the battle for 4th place moving into the final quarter. On to the penultimate lap, Goddard made his 4th and final move on Jamie Jenkins to take the last step of the podium. Hansen had set fastest lap to secure pole for the second final, and he took 4th place from Jamie in the closing stages. This only left Trott, who looked to be waiting for one mistake with just 1 lap left. And perhaps the moment had already passed. He showed Cole his nose at Garda, but had to yield into Cafe Curve. Peter Cole coolly served notice that there's a new gun in town, and looks anything but a baby Prem, taking a maiden win on his Premier Class debut. Chris Hansen would duly convert pole position into the lead, ahead of a very promising second on the grid for Scott Martin in cart number 20. Starting on the outside of the front row is almost always a poisoned chalice though, and it was no surprise to see him forced to slot in behind Cole, Trott and Goddard into 5th place coming off hairpin 1. The front 4 immediately got away as the rest of the field had something of a sort out. 4 became 5 as Scott Martin showed the same speed to pull clear of the pack as he had done to get on the front row. We now had a leading quintet, and they settled down to pull clear of another 5-way dice led by Chris Powell and Jonathan Lissiter. It would take till lap 7 until Trott kicked off the fight for the trophies. He is slicing down the inside of Cole at Garda to go through to second. Further back, Sammy Seppler would later apologise to Jeff Saunderson down at paddock for this move. Brian Trott showed how a block pass is really done, and he did it for the lead at hairpin 2 on lap 10. Goddard was forced to back out of a similar move on Cole for third, as Seppler was still parked under yellow down at paddock. That was enough to release Trott and Hansen, and Cole never gave Goddard another look in. So a first win of the season, and 2 trophies from Buckmore Park for Brian Trott, and certainly no repeat of last year's slow start to the championship, which he understandably leads. From baby Prem Peter Cole with a brace of pots for himself, Chris Hansen is third, and he shows that poor heat performance does not dictate poor final results. There's no snow at Bayford Meadows, and a 3rd and 6th place in the morning qualifying heats is enough to give reigning champion Chris Powell pole position for final 1. Chris Hansen qualifies on the front row. Championship leader Trott is on row 2 with heat 1 winner Oliver Allwood. Heat 2 winner Ian Blake starts inside of row 3 with Stu Simons outside. Richard Hyam, Trevor Randall, Pete O'Connor and Parmveen Ajar round out the top 10. Alex Vincent is the leading baby Prem on grid 11, while round 1 sensation Peter Cole is only 18th on this 23 kart grid. The pace kart brings them through turn 9. It'll pull off into the bus stop, and Chris Powell will control the pace. When will he drop the hammer? He's gone for it now. The Union flag is flying. Chris Powell leads. Brian Trott's on his bumper off grid 3, and Chris Hansen has not risked trying to go round the outside of turn 1. He's slotted down in 3rd place. Jenkins over the grass on the exit of turn 1, and Underhill's trying to sneak one down the side of Maycock. Can't get it done. Into the boot section, it begins to funnel down, and Oliver Allwood's forced to take to the grass. Richard Hyam under pressure and Palmveen ajar. Johnny Goddard trying to hold off Alex Vincent. Allwood now ahead of Richard Hyam. He's dropped behind Stu Simons. Trevor Randall's had good qualifying and has got a good start this time. Ahead of Palmveen ajar, but it's Powell leading Trott, and they're already pulling a gap on Ian Blake. Goddard's held off Alex Vincent. Got into a tangle with Pete O'Connor. Trying to find a way through in turn 8. Difficult one to pull off. Tim Clark, though, finding Pete O'Connor isolated on the outside, has gone through. And Peter Cole picks up a spot as well, trying to keep it out the tyres out of the bus stop. Down the inside of Trevor Randall, Palmveen ajar looking to pick up a spot, and that will be 8th place if he can make it stick. Out front, it's the reigning champion, Chris Powell, holding off the current championship leader, Brian Trott. And the start of this final is really going with form at the end of last season. It's Powell in the lead from Trott. Ian Blake finished 3rd, carries the 3-plate and he runs in 3rd place. Tim Clark picking up a spot and now moves up and is looking at the back of Johnny Goddard. Hanson in 4th place, Simons in 5th. Peter Cole and Alex Vincent battling hard. Matt Brooks gets a chance to slide one down the inside in 7th. Vincent trying to come back at him, but has to yield into turn 9. It's just too quick and too chancy this early in a final. Sweeping across, we're already on to lap 3. And Brian Trott continues to sit on Chris Powell's bumper, looking very comfortable in this early going. And he's now looking at the inside down into turn 3, and he's got it done. And that looked a little bit easy. Powell on the wrong side for the next hairpin. Will try and set up Brian Trott for a run down into 6th. Up for 19th place, Jamie Jenkins, John Maycock, Scott Martin. Ahead of them, Alex Vincent's just lost out to Darren Teal in the fight for 15th and is now under pressure from Sean Hollingsworth. Round the hill they come. Coming round to end lap 3, and Brian Trott's lead is 0.3 of a second ahead of Chris Powell. Ian Blake a second off the lead. Chris Hansen, Stuart Simons, Oliver Allwood, Richard Hyam, Palmveen ajar, and Trevor Randall. Johnny Goddard is up to 10th place. Jenkins to the inside of Hollingsworth from a long way back, sweeping down the inside, clean as you like. And it looks as though Brian Trott is pulling clear. Seems to have a little bit in hand on Chris Powell. Stuart Simons looks as though he could soon be under pressure from Oliver Allwood, Richard Hyam, Palmveen ajar. Trevor Randall hanging on to that group. Looking to get a good run out of 5 for a run down the inside into 6. Feed it into 7. Round the hill into 8. Now are they taking it flat through 9? Sounds pretty flat to me. Then hauling it up on the brakes, dropping it in to the bus stop. And Ian Blake now in the tow of Chris Powell in what will soon become the fight for 2nd. And in the air by Hyam. I can't see a yellow flag. I think he's got some kind of problem. I'm not sure he's getting full throttle. There was a downpour yesterday. Everything got very wet. Perhaps something's got in the works of his kart. But he's losing positions hand over fist. Bit of understeer there for Tim Clark, tipping in. So Alex Vincent has come back to Darren Teal, but he's also got Jamie Jenkins up on his bumper. And look at that, Brian Trott pulling clear now as we come round to end lap 5. And Jenkins has got past Vincent, and that's 16th place for Jamie Jenkins. Brian Trott sets the fastest lap. Fastest lap times are important. They will set the grid for final 2 with the lap times that have been done in the heats. John Maycock down the inside of Alex Vincent. Now trying to chase after Jamie Jenkins. And Matt Brooks, I think, made a mistake, and there's a crowd gathering behind him. Darren Teal down the inside of Pete O'Connor, who appears to be struggling in this final. Peter Cole trying to get on his bumper. Jenkins trying to go around the outside. It's getting fairly busy here. Out of 5, who's going to get the best run? Jenkins goes to cover to hold off Cole. And Pete O'Connor finds himself isolated down the outside and losing positions. Now he's got the inside for 7. And now it begins to settle down, as it's just too fast to go side by side through turn 9. Trevor Randall leading Johnny Goddard, a merry dance down to 1, but Goddard's determined. And this could be a chance for Clark. Can he get a run down in the boot section? Goddard forced to go defensive, both left and right. Clark is through. No, he's not. Trevor Randall sweeps back under him. Lovely move. Hopping the curbs, Alex Vincent on the bumper of Pete O'Connor. Little bit of a nudge there. Put Pete O'Connor over the curbs. Trying to defend, going into 3. Can't hold on, and Vincent and Hollingsworth go through. Maycock goes through as well. Pete O'Connor going backwards through this final. Now on the long run down to turn 6, the sweeping left-hander. Hollingsworth didn't get the best run out the corner, and Vincent is back through. So Vincent moves up to 15th, and it now looks like Trevor Randall's got some kind of problem as well. Not getting full throttle, I don't think. So Vincent coming through to start lap 8. Coming through in 15th place. This is the battle for 2nd in the Baby Prem class with Sean Hollingsworth. Peter Cole leads the class in this final in 14th place, leading the championship after an excellent performance at Buckmore Park. Jonathan Lister down the inside of John Maycock. And that's for 17th place, a quiet final for Jonathan Lister. Started 23rd. Hollingsworth still unable to get past Alex Vincent. Vincent driving down the middle of the road into turn 5. He'll try and get a good exit from 5, and he's already forced to go narrow into 6. Hollingsworth beginning to get a little bit frustrated. Jonathan Lister ready to pounce as well. You're not missing anything up front. Brian Trott has pulled out a 2-second lead on Chris Powell. Ian Blake is half a second behind in 3rd. Chris Hansen is 4.3 seconds off the lead, but a second clear of Stuart Simons in 5th. Trevor Randall still struggling. Lister inside of Hollingsworth, he's seen enough. And Maycock will be looking to pounce down the inside in the boot section, hops the curb. Hollingsworth could do nothing about that. And now Harry Landy will be behind, looking for a way by as well. Now, is there a counter strike on for Sean Hollingsworth on John Maycock to get back into the front of this battle? There's your leader, sweeping through 9. Chris Powell now coming under pressure from Ian Blake in the closing stages of this first final. Chris Hansen looks comfortable in 4th. Simons, Najjar, Allwood, Goddard running in 8th. Looking for Tim Clark in 9th, who's looking over his shoulder. That's where he's going to finish. Battle on for 10th there, Matt Brooks, Darren Teal and Jamie Jenkins. Peter Cole coming through in 13th. Maycock to the inside of Jonathan Lister, can't get it done. Darren Teal does though, and he moves into the top 10 ahead of Matt Brooks. A lot of steering input from Jonathan Lister. John Maycock wants to be by. Vincent on the defensive. Now is there an opportunity for John Maycock? The battle continues on 2nd. We're under a lap and a half from the finish. Stuart Simons holding off Palmvina Jar for 5th. Darren Teal, Jamie Jenkins has got ahead of Matt Brooks as well. The battle for 10th is going to go down to the line, I think. Jenkins looking to get in the top 10, and it started to rain. Oh, that's going to make the last lap just a little bit more complicated. Darren Teal holding off Jamie Jenkins for 10th. Alex Vincent continues to hold off Jonathan Lister in the fight for 15th. Oh, Lister throws it down the inside and then discovers there's no grip, and John Maycock goes through. Darren Teal went very deep in the boot section, and a chance for Jamie to move into the top 10. Najjar has caught up and passed Stu Simons. That's for 5th place. Darren Teal just about hanging on to 10th. Love tap from Matt Brooks as he passes Jamie Jenkins for 11th, and Peter Cole joins the group. The run down to turn 6 and the last proper passing spot on the circuit. He's your race leader coming through and into the final corner. Brian Trott wins at Bayford Meadows. Chris Powell has held off Ian Blake to take 2nd. 4th place for Chris Hansen. Palmvina Jar is 5th. Stu Simons in 6th. Allwood, Johnny Goddard, Tim Clark and Darren Teal hangs on for 10th place.
He started on grid 5. third place today, Ian Blake. In second place today is our current champions, Chris Powell. Made his move, he's had a great start to the season. He's very hungry, obviously, for the championship. And today's winner of final one, Brian Trott. No one wants to take a photo, I don't blame you.
Fastest lap times from the heats in the first final dictate the grid positions for the second round of finals, and it'll come as no surprise to see Brian Trott lining up in pole position and going for a Bayford double win of his own. It might not be so easy, as joining him on the front row is baby prem Peter Cole, who won from the front row at Buckmore Park. Pete O'Connor, Ian Blake are on row 2, Tim Clark and Jamie Jenkins on row 3. Chris Powell, Johnny Goddard, Palm Venajar and John Maycock round out the top 10 of this 23-cart grid. Two ring through here with Tim Clark at a fairly pedestrian pace. Into turn 9. The pace car will pull off into the bus stop, and control of this race passes over to Brian Trott, looking for that Union flag. Is Peter Cole going to fight it out round the outside? Well, he's gone. And Brian Trott's either missed the start or has some kind of problem. I wonder if he's oiled up, touring behind the pace car. Some people are actually racing here on board with Tim Clark. I think pretty much everybody's got the message now. This final's going to be aborted. So we've lost a lap from the final. This will be a 10-lap final now, coming through at a little bit quicker pace here through turn 9. It's Brian Trott controlling the pace. Peter Cole on the front row. Pete O'Connor, Ian Blake on row 2. On board with Tim Clark. Union flag is flying now, and look at the lead that Brian Trott's leaped into. Peter Cole gets on his bumper and ahead of Ian Blake. Blake and Cole go side by side. Jenkins round the outside of Pete O'Connor down the boot section. O'Connor's got the inside for the toe. Leaning in on Peter Cole. Cole forced to take to the grass. Nothing you can do about that through. The cones they go, flying everywhere. On board with Tim Clark in 5th. Looking to the inside of Pete O'Connor into the hairpin. Oh, Chris Hansen over the grass and curbs. There was no room there, and somebody was going to lose out, and it's Johnny Goddard. Goddard dumped to the inside of turn 5. Down into 6, Matt Brooks trying to find a way past Scott Martin. Stuart Simons running down Underhill out wide. Harry Landy looking to the inside of Trevor Randall. All sparring partners. Sean Hollingsworth getting a run through turn 9. Wisely blending out the throttle, and it's Brian Trott into a comfortable 1 second lead on Ian Blake. Peter Cole in 3rd under pressure from Pete O'Connor. Jonathan Lissider getting a run on Darren Teal. Jenkins to the inside of Tim Clark. Classic Bayford overtaking manoeuvre. And now Clark's under pressure from Chris Powell, who's got the inside for turn 3. Can Clark hang on to the outside? No, Chris Powell washes him out to the exit. Vincent down the inside of Palm Venajar. That's 14th place. On board with that, Dan Underhill into turn 5. Throws it down the inside of Trevor Randall. They'll both be slow off the corner. And a chance for Harry Landy into 6th. Randall on the outside. More contact between Landy and Randall. How many times have we said that? But it's Brian Trott leading at the end of lap 2. Ian Blake's pegged his lead at just under a second. Peter Cole in 3rd. Pete O'Connor, Jamie Jenkins, Chris Powell. On board with Chris Hansen down the inside of Tim Clark. Lovely move, and Clark comes back at him on the exit. Side by side into 2. And the road is in Clark's favour, and a chance for John Maycock to get his nose into the mix. Hansen hangs on to 8th. Jonathan Lissider looking to the inside of Richard Hyam. Hansen trying again to hold off John Maycock. Maycock taking to the grass. Lissider coming in sideways on Richard Hyam. There's a lot of side pod rubbing. Out of 5, and Richard Hyam's not very happy with all of the contact. Darren Teal now down the inside of Jonathan Lissider. 3 wide, out of 6, into 7. Hyam hanging on. Doesn't look to have a lot of pace. And there's a queue beginning to form behind 10th place Richard Hyam. Jonathan Lissider, Darren Teal, Alex Vincent, I think, took a push there from Oliver Allwood. Palm Venajar in the mix as well. On board with Dan Underhill, looking at the inside of Matt Brooks, trying to go 3 wide. Oh, it's getting very busy. Stuart Simons takes a chance. Oh, and that's going to hurt Matt Brooks' back. There's not much suspension in these karts, only what's in the side wall of the tyres. Harry Landy forces Scott Martin to take to the grass. Landy looking to the inside, down into 3, and he's through this time. More contact, Martin on Brooks. Brooks changes lanes, nearly wipes out Trevor Randall and Sean Hollingsworth. Stuart Simons passes Dan Underhill for what I think is about 17th place. Landy goes with him. Up front, Brian Trott's lead now, down to 0.8 of a second over Ian Blake. They've dropped Peter Cole. Chris Powell has caught up with Pete O'Connor in what is now the fight for 4th place with Jamie Jenkins. Over start finish, and here comes Chris Powell to the inside of turn 1, and the champion moves through. Lovely clean move from Chris Powell. Next man up is Jamie Jenkins. On board with Hansen, and Tim Clark leaves the door wide open, and Chris Hansen is through to 7th place. Clark trying to come back at him. Hansen on the racing line. Trevor Randall to the inside of Scott Martin, and that's for 19th place. And coming through with him, Matt Brooks. Scott Martin isolated on the outside, more contact, and Randall loses ground. A very sloppy few corners there for that group. Sean Hollingsworth the big winner, and they're still banging wheels into turn 6. Your race leader comes through, and Ian Blake is beginning to close in. It's 0.6 of a second. And that looks like a contact board out there. Who's that for? Who knows? I think it's for all 3, Martin, Brooks and Trevor Randall. Brooks moves through on Scott Martin, and Martin will have a run going down into turn 2, and Trevor Randall setting up to sweep down the inside of somebody. Gets his nose in, gets the door closed in his face. Parvina Jar down the inside of Darren Teal for 12th. Alex Vincent now moves on to the bumper and might have a chance down into 6th. Darren Teal goes narrow. Vincent sticks his nose in anyway, opens the door and goes through. Oliver Allwood demotes Darren Teal another position as they run round the hill, and we're coming round to start lap 7. Trott's lead, 0.6 of a second. Ian Blake in second. Peter Cole 2.5 seconds off the lead, and under pressure from Chris Powell on the run down to turn 2. So the champion, a Bayford Meadows specialist, is getting his race face on now, and he's picking up the positions. Looks to the inside of turn 3. Clean as you like for Chris Powell. Now, can he do anything about Ian Blake 2 seconds up the road? It'd be a big ask from there. Richard Hyam picking off John Maycock for 9th place. Jonathan Lister will be looking to pick up positions if he can as well, as these two go side to side into turn 6. And Hyam's got to be careful. He's got to get that door closed before Jonathan Lister arrives. And he's done that. Out of 7, through 8, flat through 9, I would imagine. Brian Trott continues to lead Ian Blake. Chris Powell is pulling clear of Peter Cole. Pete O'Connor is coming back to him. And Jamie Jenkins running in 6th. Looks as though he's still in the mix as well. Maycock did not get the best exit from turn 1, and Richard Hyam moves back through. So Hyam into 9th. Peter Connor is closing on Peter Cole. Peter Cole is leading the Baby Prem class. He won the first race. He won a final at Bookmore Park. He's pulling clear in the Baby Prem Championship. John Maycock in 10th. He's lost out to Hyam, and it looks as though he's on the defensive to hold off Jonathan Lister. Second in the Baby Prem class, Alex Vincent there behind Oliver Allwood, and now down in 14th place. Coming round to start the penultimate lap, John Maycock, I think, just caught the tyres on the exit of the bus stop. It's just a fraction of a second of momentum that he'll lose, but that will be enough to invite in Jonathan Lister. And Parvina Jar is going to get on his bumper to punish Maycock, and looking to go by on Jonathan Lister as well if he can. Well, this plays back into the hands of Maycock on the run down to turn 3. But it's not happening, and now he's got Oliver Allwood on his bumper. Closing stages. Get your elbows out now. Jonathan Maycock on the defensive. He's lost out to Allwood. and going backwards. Alex Vincent's got a run on him, down into turn 6. And he's through, and if he's not careful, Darren Teal will be coming with him. Coming round the start, the final lap, Brian Trott's lead is still half a second on Ian Blake. He's 2.7 seconds clear of Chris Powell in third. Darren Teal looking for a way past Jonathan Maycock, who's faded badly in the closing stages of this final. Maycock now down in 14th. There's the battle for the lead now. Ian Blake is running out of corners though. He's got it down to a couple of kart lengths, but they're already in turn 6 and there's really not a conventional passing spot left on the circuit apart from anything other than a bandit move. Dan Underhill trying to pick up a spot at the end of this final as well. Vincent's got a run on Jonathan Lister and he's through to 12th place. The leaders are into turn 10. It's 3 wins out of 4 races for Brian Trott. A handsome 27-point lead in the championship. And after a quiet but more park, Ian Blake gets his championship underway with the second podium of the meeting. From Chris Powell in third, who slots into 4th in the championship, 35 points off the lead. Peter Cole's 4th place and continued good form means he keeps the lead of the Baby Prem class and is now joint second with Chris Hansen in the main championship.
And in third place, he's picked up a trophy already today, a couple of podiums. In third place today, Chris Powell. In second place today, another good drive, very strong, kept the leader honest at the end of the race. But second place, Ian Blake. Today's winner of final 2 again, Brian Trott. That's his 3rd win out of 4 races. Quite impressive for this class. The rest of the got a bit of catching up to do here.